to Caitlin Clark fans and the nuclear backlash that A'ja Wilson is getting right now over the reveal of her Nike.
All right, get ready for this because A'ja Wilson suffered a terrible reality check this week. And trust me, this isn't just a tiny setback. This will be a recurring theme throughout her professional career. For the past 2 years, she has been taking direct aim at Caitlin Clark, the player Wilson thought she had the league fully under her. Right, Team USA has just administered the most unequivocal slap in the face possible. They not only benched cruel Wilson Clark, but they also removed her off the preliminary selection list entirely. And, in an incredible courageous decision, they formally granted Caitlin Brutal Wilson Clark a starting spot in the senior national pool for the forthcoming 2026 World Cup and the highly anticipated 2028 Olympics. We have the complete no Clark beginning holds barred Wilson's amazing deconstruction of beginning with no holds barred Wilson's epic dramatic meltdown, no holds allowed Wilson's epic end in Wilson. Perhaps more significantly, the WNBA establishment has deliberately ignored the one deadly fault in her game. But before we get started, do you honestly believe Wilson deserved to be taken off Team USA after all that? Please let us know what you think in the comments below.
If you're taken aback by that, if you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't compute. What about all of the A'ja Wilson Nike outrage last year that subjected not only Caitlin Clark, but her fans to all kinds of...
Now, imagine this for a moment. Imagine being universally regarded as one of the best players in the WNBA. You were truly regarded as a league's face, only to have your most significant career-defining opportunity ripped away. Is it almost hard to conceive? But, believe it or not, that is exactly what occurred to A'ja Wilson's epic novel, Wilson. Clark believed that her name was literally synonymous with women's basketball. However, she recently learned a very public and presumably unpleasant lesson. A superb reputation is not a binding contract. Team USA's choice to deliberately omit her while including Caitlin Clark in the senior selection pool was not based on a casual statistical analysis. Oh, no. This was a cold, hard, and completely conclusive assessment of which player's mind Clark in Games translate textually Clark in Games translate tetranslate high stake is effectively to global Games translate high stakes is competition. And the consequence is a high stakes, perfect, vulnerable, almost dramatic depiction of what occurs when you decide to replace actual expertise with pure show and stable character with unneeded chaos.
By Chelsea Gray into A'ja Wilson.
And here's the biggest secret hidden in plain sight in the WNBA. For their own convenience, the old guard repeatedly and deliberately ignores this one. There is a deadly defect, a critical vulnerability, in the game. Wilson perfect, vulnerability, game that it's not like she's a horrible player. Far from it. However, she clearly relies on special whistles rather than sheer, unadulterated skill. Consider it this way. Simply look at her free throw attempts. She averages about 12 each game. Now you may say, wow, that's a hallmark of an unstoppable force. Right, the game of vulnerability is favorable. But here's the fact that no one talks about. It truly indicates a player who has mastered the art of selling contact to officials. Every drive to the basket frequently features an exaggerated flail, a dramatic move intended to capture attention. Many defensive contests end with her making a passionate request for a foul call. For years, WNBA referees have protected offensive players like Wilson, letting her to essentially become an offensive machine that's mainly fueled by incrediblest game, favorably friendly exhibitions. Calling. It's a brilliant method for winning inside the WNBA special rule framework. But here's the kicker. When you step into the international scene, it quickly becomes a devastating, insurmountable liability.
They really were intentional about going to Aaliyah in the second half. What was, I guess, difficult about containing her? I know you guys kind of touched on a few things, maybe the foul calls, but what made it successful for them to keep going to her tonight?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask Aaliyah that question. I honestly, you just do your work. You got to do your work early and make it different. But Aaliyah did say I have a special whistle. And she shot 13 today.
She said that to you?
Yeah. Yeah. She said it last game I had a special whistle, which is cool. So we just got to play their better defense, make her look a little difficult. and kind of go from there.
And that's exactly why Team USA coaches and scouts weren't sitting around watching her WNBA highlight reels and fantasizing about MVP awards. Oh no, they were actually diligently following her performances in worldwide favorable exhibitions, and what they saw shocked them. Here's the fundamental distinction. FIA referees don't care about your MVP or league awards. They allow for an entirely different, far higher level of physical play favorable exhibitions. That fever, if it occurred during an Aces exhibition, would send Wilson to the free throw line a dozen times without question. However, in international play, the identical touch results in a straightforward play on the physical, free-flowing out style of international basketball. Brutally, clearly exposes any player whose offensive game is mostly dependent on the officials to produce scoring opportunities. It's a brutal reality, but it distinguishes those designed for global dominance from those who thrive in a more restricted environment.
Are talking about A'ja Wilson, the player on the team where people are abandoning like rats off a sinking ship. A'ja Wilson, who has won 2 championships in the WNBA. A'ja Wilson, who was crowned MVP before the 2024 season started. A'ja Wilson, she's a really good basketball player. But back to culture. I wouldn't want A'ja Wilson on my team, or maybe I should turn it around. Since she's A'ja Wilson, I wouldn't want to be on A'ja.
And this, my friends, brings us to a stark and unmistakable contrast with Caitlin Clark. When it comes to her attacking game, Clark is on a whole other level. Think about it. She's drawing up from a 30 to 35-foot matchup, flowing out, back, and absolutely draining shots. Shots that no referee, no matter how biased, will ever take away from her. When defenders make contact, she simply finishes straight through them, frequently not bothering to look for a whistle. Her hallmark step flow out, back offense. Three-pointers and absurdly long-range shots are entirely self-sufficient out and back offense. A fast offense, she outperforms defenders with an exceptional combination of perfect shot selection, unrivaled basketball IQ, and lightning-fast backcourt offense. Wilson scoring footwork moves quickly. Let me tell you, this skill set applies perfectly on any court in the world, regardless of who is holding the whistle or what the officiating style is. Let us now discuss the hard data. Scout from Team USA kept a close eye on the offense. Quick Wilson scoring defense. Efficiency decreased dramatically during international play. Why? Because the officials had permitted actual legitimate physical. Rapid Wilson's scoring defense was modest. Her productivity fell substantially. And I mean substantially, because the exact marginal calls on which he had become so reliant in the WNBA abruptly vanished. So, guess what? Clark's numbers remained rock strong. Why do you ask? Because our entire game is based on establishing separation via a very high release point and amazing shooting range. Not by making minor contact and attempting to earn a foul. The difference isn't merely Wilson's scoring defense. Contact is screamingly, clearly obvious. Here is an image for you, Wilson. She takes the initiative in defending. Delicate, touch contact, Wilson's technique. And then she practically waits for the whistle, hoping for a trip to the free throw line. Clark anticipates a contact, changes her shot mid-A, and scores through it. Subtle. Contact offense-friendly Wilson's method offense friendliness is perfectly perfect for the highly controlled, Verkontact, Wilson's methodical offense. The WNBA's climate is beneficial to offense. But Clark's Wilson's methodod, Isglobe T's ideal for everywhere else. For every court around the offense-friendly Isglobe unassailable because it's built on fundamental Isglobe, unassailable Wilson's fouls kill rather than gaming a specific rule system. This is a critical divide between excellent and great, and WNBA stars from global legends. International basketball requires a completely new level of flexibility. FIA games are frequently less stopped and much more physical, with officials allowing both teams to make contact. This implies that Wilson's foul-baiting strategies, which were so effective in the WNBA, have now become big liabilities. Why? Because her entire scoring pattern depends on continuous interruptions, and those unassailable. Wilson's unfavorable materialize. Wilson's unfavorable calls never materialized. Wilson's heavy Team USA coaches require players who can modify their approach based on the various refereeing styles they will undoubtedly meet in different locations. Favorable materialize. Wilson's significant reliance on certain WNBA officiating procedures causes her to materialize. Wilson's heavy gigantic is clearly an unneeded danger for the Olympics. On the other hand, Clark's self-sufficient, genuinely unguardable scoring skill makes her an unrivaled asset in any basketball setting. The choice wasn't simply Wilson's. Heavy giant clear was collegiate. It was clear, was quite was, and a no-brainer. One player requires a certain set of highly advantageous conditions to thrive, whilst the other player produces her own success with pure Wilson's name, unadulterated basketball ability, regardless of the circumstances. So, how did the former self-proclaimed face of the league respond when she was told explicitly that she was no longer needed by her country's top team? In one explosive word, explosively, Wilson, I'm sure, assumed December would be just another month of casually collecting prizes and reveling in acclaim. Instead, she was confronted with news that absolutely crushed her strongly held feeling of entitlement. Team USA has published their preliminary selection pool for the upcoming evaluation camps, and Wilson's name, favorable Wilson's name, organization Wilson's name was notably omitted, which horrified her. According to sources, Wilson's instant reaction was nothing short of an epic emotional outburst that reportedly lasted several days. The player, who had spent the previous 2 years sincerely feeling she was untouchable, learned she had been replaced by the very person she had spent that time aggressively trying to undermine and bring down. Caitlin Clark, conversely agonizing Clark, paradoxically, and quite pooled, Poetry Clark, conversely ally, gained an invitation to the senior national team, while Wilson was completely excluded. The irony of Wilson spending numerous hours on social media challenging Clark's right to be in the spotlight is just wonderful. Wilson naturally began making urgent, frantic phone calls to Team USA, demanding pool, basketball, and an official explanation for her surprising absence. She reportedly went through several connections within the United States Bruteful Pool last basketball, last last minute attempting to piece together how this ultimate treachery could have occurred. Her representatives were scurrying around like headless chickens, scrambling to organize meetings with coaching staff members who had, quite frankly, moved on to the far more essential business of evaluating the players who did make the cut. Meanwhile, the sharp difference could not be more evident. Clark received a deluge of congratulatory messages from teammates, coaches, and fans, all praising her wonderful opportunity to represent her country on the global stage, basketball. Her response, in true stylish last-minute fashion, was one of unflashy grace and real humility, simply expressing thanks and a desire to learn from the veterans. The disparity in their emotions to this major news is so dramatic that it nearly feels like an unscripted documentary about their underlying personality differences. Caitlin Clark posted fashion, a simple, respectable thank you letter with no shots or expectations. Wilson simple camp. However, they immediately began spreading obviously ludicrous claims about alleged scheduling issues and prior commitments that stopped her from participating. But let's be honest, nobody, and I mean nobody, believed her weak, desperate attempt to salvage face when she was openly and definitively cut. It was a humiliating moment for Wilson, but it also revealed who these two sportsmen are at their core. Here's the kicker. The full obvious repercussions of Wilson's destructive 2-year campaign against Clark were laid open and revealed at that very time. You see, Team USA coaches have been keeping a cool, professional eye on her actions for quite some time. Every passive-aggressive comment, every cryptic social media post, each post, and every single interview shot fired against Clark was painstakingly documented by officials who, above all, valued team cohesion and professional behavior. Wilson's persistent, relentless attacks on the league's biggest and brightest new star exemplified the exact type of toxic mindset that completely wrecks locker rooms and weakens national team cohesiveness. Clark's reaction, or lack thereof, to Wilson's persistent petty harassment simply bolstered her argument for inclusion. She never replied with a personal assault. Instead, she focused like a laser on her game and let her performance speak for itself, whereas Wilson squandered an amazing lot of energy on criticism and jealousy. So let us be totally clear. The message from Team USA is sharp. It is unequivocal, unambiguous, and crystal plain. Toxic conduct has actual, irrefutable, and observable repercussions. They did not only select a player, they chose character over chaos. They prioritized professionalism over pettiness. They selected team builders over team destroyers. Here's the ironic twist. Wilson is outraged. Wilson's outraged outburst over her exclusion served a convincing confirmation that the coaches made the correct decision. Think about it. A player who is unable to accept not being selected for a roster. Someone who has an epic emotional breakdown cannot withstand the immense worldwide pressure of representing her country on the international stage. Her emotional collapse demonstrated beyond a doubt that she lacked the mental toughness, poise, and maturity needed for international competition. Clark, on the other hand, won her seat by unquestionable talent and character, whereas Wilson lost it due to poor judgment, continuous negativity, and blinding jealousy. The player who couldn't handle fan criticism couldn't be trusted to represent American basketball with the elegance and dignity that the role requires. Wilson felt fully secure and invincible when she decided to launch a concerted 2-year onslaught against Clark in 2024. She received MVP accolades, championship rings, and the media-anointed, much-vaunted moniker of the face of women's basketball. To someone who truly believed she owned the spotlight, every cleverly veiled tweet and passive-aggressive insult felt perfectly fair. Wilson and her allies, whether consciously or unconsciously, believed themselves that they were safeguarding the WNBA's very integrity from what they perceived to be Clark's enormous, almost suffocating media coverage. Wilson began actively liking posts that questioned Clark's validity and sharing information that celebrated veteran achievements. Clark's record-breaking moments were frequently filmed directly above him. But here's what she missed. USA basketball officials were scrutinizing every encounter, every digital footprint, with a cold, professional, and calculating eye. They noticed how Wilson reacted to Clark's spectacular achievement with cynicism and thinly veiled anger rather than true happiness. When Clark got Time Magazine's prestigious Athlete of the Year award, Wilson's social media activity revealed apparent doubt and resentment rather than support for women's basketball, which has gained significant public exposure. The authorities took thorough, accurate notes on who was actively working to improve the sport and who was actively attempting to bring a rival down. This was a silent, continuing evaluation that Wilson appeared utterly oblivious of. As Clark's fame skyrocketed, Wilson's basketball interviews became more sharp and hostile. She began using loaded terms like real effect and sustained excellence in ways that were clearly and purposefully intended to downplay Clark's undeniable achievements. She boldly questioned Clark's genuine influence in the sport. To be honest, it's a truly funny statement, given that Clark was selling out every venue she played in and attracting millions of new fans, many of whom had never seen women's basketball before. Looking back, Wilson's social media posts conveyed a complete, uncensored story. She responded to Clark's widespread coverage by sharing information concerning veteran scoring records, which were almost embarrassingly petty. The plain reality is that she couldn't believe that someone more marketable, arguably more talented, and unquestionably more appealing was fundamentally changing the debate about women's basketball. She regrettably transformed every Clark triumph into a personal attack on her own legacy, making Clark's success about herself rather than truly appreciating what it meant for the entire sport, for every woman who played the game. And this is a critical issue that Wilson completely overlooked. Team USA coaches methodically observed this precise behavior for 2 years before making their final squad decisions. They were not simply observing basketball talents. They were examining characters. They knew which player would represent the country with unflinching class and which would invariably cause superfluous self-centered drama. Wilson, in essence, drafted her own exit letter from a national program, including every envious, passive-aggressive, and demeaning remark. She convinced herself that she was safeguarding, if not enhancing, her reputation. But what she was really doing was purposefully and systematically ruining her reputation with the national team leadership, exhibiting a complete lack of the professionalism they so much valued. The player who couldn't appreciate another woman's triumph, who couldn't sincerely be glad for the sport's growth, couldn't be trusted to represent her country with the utmost professionalism required in that prestigious post. Finally, and here's the irrefutable truth, Wilson manufactured a precise story that got her thrown from Team USA. Her 2-year crusade against Clark backfired catastrophically, making it nearly a dark comedy. She didn't simply harm her own reputation. She irreversibly damaged it while, strangely, making Clark appear even greater in comparison. While Clark received a desired Team USA invitation, Wilson continued to make angry, desperate phone calls to anyone who would listen, seeking an answer that did not exist. Clark, in contrast, began preparing for the evaluation camp with the same quiet, steadfast work ethic that had made her a collegiate legend. She recognized that this opportunity entailed far more than simply making the roster. It was a seamless transition into the position Wilson believed belonged to her permanently, a position of worldwide ambassadorship. Clark and Aaliyah Boston's extraordinary relationship, which has matured from a passionate college competition into a deep mutual respect, provides Team USA with a bedrock strength that Wilson's towering individualistic ego could never supply. Wilson's mentality, by all accounts, would have required that everything revolve around her personal achievement and brand. Team USA coaches now regard Clark as the ideal representative for American basketball on the international stage. Her steadfast professionalism in the face of Wilson's continuous onslaught demonstrated beyond doubt that she can handle enormous pressure without causing drama. While Wilson's sadly shown the polar opposite qualities, the upcoming evaluation camp will mark Clark's official, well-deserved coronation as a new worldwide face of women's basketball. Wilson's dramatic, very public exclusion sends a clear, powerful, and unequivocal message to every WNBA player about Team USA's true beliefs. Yes, statistical successes are extremely important, but character, behavior, and worldwide marketability are now just as important, if not more so, when representing your country. Players that actively work to promote women's basketball and celebrate its growth are rewarded. Players who undermine their opponents, who engage in pettiness and jealousy, are left behind. Wilson chose jealousy above leadership, and sadly, she paid the highest price. Clark's popularity stretches far beyond American borders, touching nations and cultures in ways that Wilson's brand never could. Clark's deep-range shooting, fearless competitive spirit, and selfless play captivated international fans during her collegiate career. She exudes energy and unselfish athleticism that crosses all cultures and languages. Wilson's more one-dimensional approach to her brand, on the other hand, was primarily aimed at established basketball fans, rather than the critical forward-thinking goal of expanding the sport's global audience. Clark's leadership and outstanding skill set will now be proudly showcased on basketball's most important platforms, the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics. Team USA coaches intend to base their entire system on her unique skill set and unrivaled basketball ability. Wilson's drama and self-centeredness would have caused nothing but unwanted distractions during critical preparation and competition. Clark, on the other hand, is always focused on the team's success rather than individual credit. The 2026 World Cup has just become a must-see, with Clark leading a new generation that values teamwork over vicious competitiveness. The selection pool roster tells a full, unedited story without using a single word. Wilson's indignant response confirmed the coach's concerns about her temperament and readiness to serve the country. She couldn't deal with the consequences of her own actions, which, to be honest, were the final undeniable piece of evidence. Team USA needed to move on completely. Clark, the consummate professional, prepares for camp while Wilson, the enraged former star, has to watch from the sidelines. The era of the special whistleblower has officially ended, and the era of unrivaled, irrefutable talent has officially and magnificently dawned. So what do you think? Did Wilson really deserve to be thrown from Team USA? Please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you never miss out on our coverage. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you next.